introduction of sorts so that I can understand what kind of audience we have here in the room. So anybody who's interested to give a quick introduction and help me understand like what phase of your GRE preparation journey are you in? Mansi, Akash.
Good evening, sir.
Yes,
Uh,
Akash.
sir, I'm applying for 2025 intake,
Fall
and
25 NT.
yes, so right now my preparation is going on, and my GI is planned in November 13th, and I'm preparing for from Yocket recorded. I bought the recorded lectures package, and
Okay.
I'm preparing from your videos only. So it's really
Okay.
awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So if you've already started your preparations and if you already referred to the video, well and good. So you're choosing the on-demand program, is it?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay,
So I'm
nice.
in
And
the
how's the
last.
preparation? Hmm.
It's going nice. I am in the last few videos are left. I'm in the permutation and combination and statics
Mhm.
video. So
Mhm.
after that, I will in the next 10 days I will plan to practice on what I learned.
Wonderful, wonderful. So any queries, any doubts you have, always feel free to reach out.
Sure, sure. Thank you, sir. Thank you so
Yes.
much.
Okay. Okay, man. Thank you, Akash. November 30th is your test, is it?
Sir, 13th November.
Okay, 1-3.
Yes, sir.
Okay, another 15 days.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Approximately.
okay, okay. So in this 15 days, maybe you can focus a bit more on the full length mock test. Try and write as many full length mock tests as possible and try to analyze them to see what type of mistakes you are doing and work on those mistakes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sure.
Yes. Okay, okay, okay. Thank you, Akash. Next, Mansi, anybody else who would like to unmute and speak and share at what phase of your GRE preparation journey are you in? Mansi, Nitprit. I think another 2 minutes. One
Hi, sir.
student will continue. Yes, Nitprit. Hmm.
So I have this exam on November 3rd, this November
Mm-hmm.
3rd.
Mm-hmm.
And so I am facing a lot of issues in the verbal section,
Mm-hmm.
mostly the reading
Mm-hmm.
comprehension part. Like, I'm not able to solve it at par the time it has to be completed.
Mm-hmm.
Any guidance for that, sir?
Uh, Reading comprehension again, it depends on what are you struggling mainly with. Is it in comprehending the passage that they are given is what you're trying to you're struggling in, or in picking the answer choices? So first you need to understand what type of question is this. Again, in question there are many types. One are reasoning questions, critical reasoning questions, where there are strengthening questions, weakening questions, and for those questions you have to understand the entire passage. And there will be few questions which are specific to a particular paragraph itself or particular
Okay.
sentence in the paragraph. So for that, you may not have to read the entire passage. So you just have to skim and scan through 2 or 3 lines before and after that particular passage, or sorry, that particular word which they have asked in the question. So there are different strategies.
No,
Unfortunately, in this
it's
particular
like
session,
choosing the answer. Very
hmm,
sorry to interrupt,
no,
but
no, no, it's fine.
it's like very difficult to eliminate the choices between that are given. So
Mm-hmm.
like I have skimmed the essay, I have found the keyword that has to be taken from the line it has to be taken from, but it is very difficult for me to pick the correct answer out of the like I have always seen that I am confused between two or three choices in the answers. So
Hmm.
eliminating part is very difficult, quite difficult for me.
So for the reading comprehension, you are speaking, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, okay, understood. So again, there are multiple strategies. I am not the best person to talk about the verbal reasoning part because I'm the quants trainer.
Okay,
So
fine, got
maybe
it.
in the coming days, we will try and conduct a session for dedicated for verbal reasoning only. So you can tune in at that time also, and then maybe reach out to the verbal trainer and get a better answer from the verbal trainer.
And then if I come on this Quant part,
Hmm.
I find like giving the mock test. So
Mm-hmm.
media it starts with medium and with the blessings of God I get into hard part. In
Mm-hmm.
the hard part I've seen two probability questions. Both of the
Mm-hmm.
questions have to be solved. Every time if I give mock test also, if I give the real GRE also, I am
Mm-hmm.
not able to solve those probability questions despite having solving the 5 LB book also.
Hmm.
And ETS guide books are ETS के जो सवाल है वो तो सारे खुद से
Mm-hmm.
पर मतलब the probability question that comes under GRE section of the mock test of Princeton, Manhattan, or Great Mat, they're very tough.
Hmm.
So how to counter this? Like, even in the coordinate geometry can be handled. Sometimes in the normalization calls, standardization calls, questions
Hmm.
also. Can you please answer that?
So in the probability part, again, if you have done the 5LB book, so what are the questions you will be looking in the 5LB book? No, very similar questions is what you can expect on the actual GRE test as well.
Okay,
So
sir.
in probability, harder questions is where they will combine permutation and combination knowledge also with respect to that, where you might have to consider multiple cases or sub cases. So instead of just calculating for one case, there will be multiple sub cases involved. So we have to evaluate all the cases to get to the correct answer.
Got it, sir.
So that's what, if you've done the 5LB book, I would suggest maybe go through the problems one more time. So it's very similar kind of questions is what you can expect on the actual GRE as well.
So
And
just
whenever
to
you do
come.
mistakes in the mock test, so instead of thinking of it as, oh, I did a mistake, instead of look at it in a positive way, look at it like a learning opportunity. So where you are getting to learn that problem, you are getting yourself exposed to that kind of question.
Since I'm left with just 5 days, for
Hmm,
5 or 6 days, you say
hmm,
on November 3rd, I have the exam
hmm.
at 2 o'clock. So, what is the best piece of advice that someone could get 165 plus in the quant section?
So first thing is you should be calm. You should not panic. That's the
All right.
most important thing. On the day of the test, there are high chances where students will end up panicking, thinking that it's an actual test. You're writing it and that to the test center, because while writing mock test, you would have written from your home. So going to a test center, writing the test over there is a totally different thing.
All
So
right.
that's where handling your tension, the pressure, that's the most important part. If you're calm, if you're confident on the day of the test, so then you'll be able to do much better on the day of the test. So you should not panic, try and stay calm, and try and take more and more mock tests in the remaining 3 4 days that you have, so that you're building that endurance to sit for 2 hours in one stretch and complete the test.
All right, sir.
Yes.
That that's just true, sir. For the quant section, please
Hmm.
advise some, like like if you get into hard part of the second section, what is
Mhm.
the best piece of advice for me to practice these days, and the practical ways to counter those hard questions and easily get at least six correct?
See, one more thing we kind of have to understand here is the second section becomes the hardest section does not necessarily mean all the questions will be hard. I'll talk about the adaptive nature in much more detail when we start the masterclass. So the second section, if it's harder, it means the number of or the ratio of harder questions will be high compared to easy medium questions. So it means that section will still have easy medium questions first, but it will be mixed. So that's why you should read the question, and if you feel like this question takes a lot of time, or if you did not understand the question in the first reading, so instead of spending 3 4 minutes on that, so it's better to save that question and move on to the next questions, so that at least you are able to cover most of the problems. If there are any easy medium questions in that section, that you should be able to complete it off. If you get stick to one problem and spend like 4 5 minutes on that, and later if you go to the other problems, you may not have time to solve those problems. So that's why the most important thing is, one is staying calm and being proactive. Like after reading the question, immediately you should be able to decide, can I do this or should I save it for later? So that decision should be done very quickly, and you have to keep on moving between the questions.
Got it, sir.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, no worries. And if you have any more further questions at the end, we will have a Q&A session, so you can stay back and ask the questions at the last also. So right now, I think we have a good amount of students and it's almost 7:10. Let's go ahead and start off with the session. So for those who joined late, again, we did not do my introduction, a quick introduction about me. I'm Harish Kumar. I'm a certified trainer for GRE, GMAT and SAT, and I'll be the presenter for today's session. So in today's GRE Masterclass, what we are going to cover here is, once again, if you're here means if you're someone who would have already started your GRE preparation, or maybe at the beginning you're about to start your GRE preparation. So if you're starting your GRE preparation, then the first thing you need to understand about is the structure of the test, like what type of questions will be there, what areas will be tested, and how many questions in each section, how much time is given per question, how exactly does the scoring happens in the test. So all these things you should be aware of, then only you'll be able to prepare better for the test, and that is what we're going to cover in this masterclass. So first we're going to understand the structure of the test, what are the areas, different types of questions, how much time is given, how the scoring happens and stuff. And then we will pick few questions from the quant section as well as from the verbal section, and try to figure out how, with the help of certain strategies, you can get the answer to those questions in a faster time than using your traditional approaches. So that's what we are going to cover in this particular masterclass. So chalo, let's go ahead and start off. First, what's in the GRE test, basically the structure of the test. So in the test, if you observe the very first section, irrespective of which part of the word you write the GRE test from. So it will always be the essay writing section, analytical writing assessment, AWS section. So in this essay writing section, you will be given one topic, analysis of an issue, and to answer this topic, you will be given 30 minutes of time. So in this 30 minutes of time, you have to come up with what are the points you need to cover, and you have to type your essay. Since it's a computer-based test, you have to type your essay. Your typing speed also needs to be decent. So in that 30 minutes, you have to do the entire thing. So once you're done with the first section of essay writing, then you will have the verbal reasoning section one. In the first verbal reasoning section, you will be given 12 questions, And to answer these 2 questions, you would be given 18 minutes of time. So which is on an average 1.5 minute per question. 1 minute 30 seconds is what you can look for each question. And once you're done with the first verbal reasoning section, you will have the second verbal reasoning section, which would contain 15 questions, and 23 minutes is the time given, which is again on an average 1.5 minute is what you get for each question. And after you're done with the verbal reasoning section, you will have the quantitative reasoning section, which would contain again 12 questions in the first section, 15 questions in the second section. But since it's a math section where you have to solve and get the answer, slightly more time is given per question. You will be given 21 minutes of time. So which is on an average 1 minute 45 seconds is what you can look for each question. And for the second section of quant, you will be given 26 minutes of time. So if you observe the total duration of the test, how long is the test means, it is exactly 1 hour 58 minutes, which is almost less than 2 hours. Hence, there is no break given in the middle. So once you start your first section, in one stretch, you have to complete all the 5 sections. Now, one very wrong idea about the GRE test that many students have, or in the internet, that is there is GRE is a test of English and math. Honestly, GRE is not a test of English and math. English and math are just the tools that they are using to test your reasoning skills, critical thinking skills, analytical writing skills, problem solving skills. So these are the main skills that they're going to test. And along with these skills, they also kind of test your time management, stress management. All of those will be tested in the GRE test. So in the verbal reasoning section, what are the areas that will be tested is 2 major areas of English language. One is vocabulary, the other one is reading comprehension. Vocabulary is basically the meaning of the words with respect to the context of the sentence, and reading comprehension is they will give you a paragraph or a passage, and they're trying to understand how well can you read the data and comprehend the information given in that. So that's what reading comprehension section is. And in the quantitative reasoning section, what are the subject or the areas that will be tested means, it's all your high school or elementary school math itself: arithmetic, algebra, geometry, and statistics. But of course, the questions will not be as simple as a high school math question. It will be slightly more trickier and more inclined or more associated with the real world scenarios. Word problems is what you will be looking majorly in the quantitative reasoning section. Got it? So now coming to the scoring part, how exactly does the GRE test scores a student's means? So for your essay writing section, you get a score of 0 to 6 on a 0.5 increment, which means 0, 0.5, 1, 1.5, like that. 0.5, 0.5 increase is what you would be seeing in the analytical writing section. And in the verbal reasoning section, based on how a student perform in both the verbal reasoning section, that is 12 questions from the first, 15 questions from the second, overall 27 questions. So based on how you perform in these 27 questions, you get a score of minimum 130 to maximum 170 with 1 point increment. So 130, 131, 132, like that. Only integer scores is what you would be getting. Very similar in the quant section also. Based on how a student perform in both the quant section, 27 questions put together, you get a score of 130 to 170. Minimum 130, maximum is 170. And ETS does not give any score on the scale of 340. ETS gives you these three separate score: one essay score, one verbal score, and one quant score. But universities, while they are setting the cutoff for the requirement, what they do is they'll add the verbal and quant score together and consider it as GRE composite score, which is on a scale of 260 to 340. So this is what the score range of GRE test is. Now in the essay writing section, the scoring happens in 2 steps. A human reader appointed by ETS grades your essay and will give you a score of 0 to 6. And a computer AI check is also done, which will also grade your essay on a scale of 0 to 6. Then average of both human score as well as the AI score will be taken. The computer AI score will be taken. That will be your final essay writing score. And for that to happen, it will take a little bit of time. So that's why you will not be able to see your essay score on the day of the test. But since it's a computer-based test, your verbal and the quant scores will be reflected, or you'll be able to see the verbal and quant score on the day of your test itself as soon as you complete your test. So that's about the structure of the test. Now, one more very important aspect about the GRE test we need to understand is GRE is a section level adaptive test. So what is this section level adaptive nature of the GRE test? Means, as we saw in our previous slide, there were 2 verbal reasoning sections. One section of 12 questions, the other section was of 15 questions, right? What was the point of these having 2 different sections? Means the very first section of verbal reasoning will be of medium difficulty level, moderately challenging content. Based on how a student performs in the first section, the difficulty level of the second section will be decided by the computer AI. So let's say you perform really well in the first section. And what do I mean when I say really well in the first section? Means the first section had 12 questions, right? Out of those 12 questions, if you manage to get anywhere more than 9 or more than 9 correct, so 9 or more than 9 correct, then you've done really well on the first section. Hence, the computer would pick second section as a harder section for you. But if you perform poorly in the first section, let's say you get only 3 or 4 correct in the first section, there is no point in testing such student with a harder level of question. So that's why the computer would pick second section as a easier section for them. So like that, based on the student level or according to the student level, the test will adapt on the day of the test itself. So that's what section level adaptive nature of the GRE test means. And the exact same thing happens in the quant section also. The first section of quantitative reasoning, the 12 questions, will be of medium difficulty level. Based on how you perform in that, your second quant section can be a little more harder section or another medium section only, or it can be easier section altogether. Got it? Now here you might have a question, how will this impact my final score, whether I get a easy section or get a harder section? Will it make any difference in my final score? Absolutely yes, it will make a difference in your final score. Your final score, which was on a scale of 130 to 170, depends on two parameters. What are those two parameters? Means the first one is how many questions you got right out of the 27 questions. From both the sections there are 27 questions. How many you got it right out of those 27 is the first thing that they'll be looking into. And the second thing that they will be looking into is what was the difficulty level of your section. So if you got a harder section, which means you deserve to get better scores, hence you will be rewarded with higher score than somebody who got a easier section. So that's why the adaptive nature will play a role, and the difficulty level of the section will impact your final score. So your goal should be to reach a harder section in order to get really high score. And how do you do that? By performing well in the first section, which means every section is equally important. You have to do your best in every section. Got it? Any doubt, any confusion so far in the adaptive nature of the test or the structure of the test? Again, I want the session to be as interactive as possible. So whatever the questions you have, no matter how simple it is, you can unmute yourself and ask, or you can drop them in the chat box also. Absolutely fine. Whatever is comfortable for you guys. Any questions, any doubts on the structure and the adaptive nature of the test? Clear, everyone?
Sir, can you
Yes.
give like any range of the marks? Like suppose if a student do medium hard, medium easy. So in verbal or quant, what is the range of marks he can expect?
I wish I had an exact answer to this, but unfortunately, ETS doesn't release any such range. But based on what I have observed from the students' experience and this course, so if you get a harder section, then it's a sure that you would go beyond 158 to 160. So that's like the minimum score you can expect with a harder section. So if you want to cross 160, you have to get second section as a harder section. If you get a medium section, you will never be able to cross 160.
Okay, sir.
Yes. Now, one tip that is, do not ignore your AWS section. So if you observe, when I wrote the scoring part, I wrote essay score as a separate score. It was not a part of your 340 score scale, correct? So what many students do is, since it is not part of the 340 score, they kind of ignore the essay writing section. They'll not prepare much on the essay writing section, but you should not do that. Even though universities doesn't really specify what is the exact requirement for the AWS section, they will definitely look into your essay score as well. That too, if you're considering a research oriented or a research based program, then definitely they will look into your essay score, because they want to understand how good is your writing skills. You will be submitting papers and stuff, right? So that's why do not completely ignore the essay writing section. At least 10-15 days of practice or preparation should be required for the essay writing section. So what you can do to prepare for the AWS section is, on the ETS website itself, if you go, there is something called as issue pool, which contains all the topics that can be asked on the day of your test. Of course, you can't prepare for all the topic. That's closely like 160 to 180 topics are there. We can't prepare for all of that, but you can pick some topics out of that and then try to write the essays on that particular topic. And on the ETS website itself, they have sample essays also. For 1 or 2 topics, they have sample essays, how a 6 out of 6 essay would look like for this particular topic, or how a 4 out of 6 scored essay would look like for this particular topic. So you can read those sample essays and get an idea of what you need to cover in your essays when you write your essay for a different topic. Got it? So do not completely ignore it. At least give 10-15 days of preparation time for the essay writing section. Write essays, evaluate them, and then try to see where you can improve on them. Got it? Again, there's no word limit as such. If you're wondering, is there any word limit? But it is recommended to have something more than 400 to 450 words at least, because what's more important over there is, rather than the word count, how well you have organized or structured your essay. That is what most important over there. So you have to have one introductory paragraph, 2 to 3 body paragraph, and one conclusion paragraph. So if you follow this structure, then you will definitely get good scores on the AWS section as well. Yep. So now coming to the GRE Quant questions. So as I said, what are the areas that will be tested in the Quant section means arithmetic, algebra, geometry, but the questions will be slightly more trickier. With the help of certain strategies, you can arrive at the answer at a much faster time or a lesser time compared to what you would do if you do it in a traditional approach. So what we will do now is we're going to solve few problems from the GRE quantitative reasoning section and understand how to approach the questions. I'll give all of you 30 seconds. I want all of you to grab a sheet of paper and a pen or pencils. So we'll do it like a small test kind of a thing where I'll display the questions. I'll give you 1.5 minute of time. You can try and solve the problem on your own, and you will drop your answers in the chat box. So then we will discuss what is the correct answer and how to arrive at that. Got it? Yes. So 30 seconds time starts. So quickly take a sheet of paper and a pencil, and if you're ready, give me a thumbs up. I'll start showing the questions. And I want all of you to actively participate in this. It's okay even if you're not prepared, if you've just started your preparation and stuff, absolutely fine. So we will try and learn from this. Ready? Shall we start? In the reaction, you can give a thumbs up. Okay, wonderful. Chalo, let's go and start. The first question. Yep. So your 1 minute timer starts. Since it's the very first question, a pretty simple word problem I've chosen. So this kind of questions is what you can expect, something which is more related to real world scenarios. Once you're done with solving the problem, please drop your answers in the chat box. Okay, I can see a few answers coming in. Wonderful. Good, Akash. Good, Nitprit. I'll not reveal the answer yet. We'll discuss. Okay. Good, Divya. Good. Kushi, Neeraj. No worries, Akash. Good, at least you figured out the mistake on your own. Good. Nice. Okay, done. So 1 minute timer up. As I can see, some of you are choosing option B, $10. Some of you are choosing option A, $5. So there's a mix between A and B options only. None of you have chosen any other options. Let's see whether A is the correct answer, B is the correct answer, and how it is the correct answer. Let me go through the question. What is this particular question talking about here? The cost of a shirt is $25. During a sale, if the customer buys a pair of shirt, the second shirt would cost only $15. How much does the customer save per shirt by buying a pair of shirts instead of two shirts separately? So let's say a particular customer buys two shirts separately. Two shirts separately if you purchase. So each shirt would cost you $25. So like that, you are buying two shirts, which means we end up paying $50. So instead of buying two shirts separately, if I buy them together as a pair, two shirts together if I buy. So I would still pay $25 for the first shirt. Since I'm buying them as a pair, I would get the second one at a lesser price only for $15. So which means I would end up paying $40. Now, so what was the savings that I was able to make because I purchased them as a pair? So I was able to save $10. So after doing this much of calculation, if you mark option B as the answer, unfortunately option B is what answer? That's the wrong answer. That is your trap. So why option B is the trap answer or the wrong answer? Means if I read the final sentence in the question one more time, what does it ask? How much does the customer save per shirt by buying a pair of shirt instead of two shirts separately? So this $10 was the total savings that I was able to make because I purchased two shirts, which means on an average, what would be the savings per shirt then? It would become 10 by 2, $5. So option A is the actual correct answer, where B is the trap answer here. Got it? So good to see that most of you got the right answer. Some of you who chose option B, this was your mistake. So even though it's a math problem, the English part of it is also very, very important. You have to read the question with utmost clarity, utmost care where you're not missing out on even a small word like this. Even if you overlook a small piece of information like this, per, off, and stuff, you might end up choosing the wrong options or the trap options. And ETS is known for this. They will set up such traps so that students will not even realize that they have done a mistake. They will think that I got it right and they will move on to the next question. Got it? So A is the correct answer, and those who give option A as the correct answer, very good. Good job. Let's go to the next problem. Question number 2. Again, your 1 minute timer starts. A slightly more challenging problem compared to the previous one. Very good, Divya. Yes, you found your mistake. Nice. Excuse me. Okay, I can see answers coming in. Nice. Mm-hmm. Good, Akash. And one more thing, there is no negative marking in the GRE test, which means even if you don't know the answer, you should not leave anything blank. Take a random guess. If your luck is good, maybe you'll get the points. If your luck is not good, nothing to lose. So in case if you're not able to solve this problem, at least take a guess and share your answer in the chat box. If you're able to solve it, well and good. In case if you're not able to solve it, take a guess, whatever you feel is right, and then drop your answer in the chat box. Okay, I can see answers coming in. It's a toggle between A and C. Okay. Others? It's okay. If you're not able to solve it, take a guess. Your attempt rate should always be 100%. You should not leave anything blank. Okay, nice. I can see the answers toggling between A and C. Few students choose A, few students choose C. So let's understand what is the correct answer and how to actually approach this particular question. So if I read the question, what is the question telling? If J and K are even integers and J is less than K, which of the following equals number of even integers greater than J, less than K? So now this particular problem, if you observe, we are having variables in the question. So right from our childhood, what we have been taught is, if you come across variable, do the algebra, set up equations and do the algebra to get your answer. Of course, there's no wrong in doing that. That is the traditional approach of doing the problem, which is absolutely fine. But one of the biggest advantage in the GRE test, especially in the quant section, is most of the questions or majority of the questions are multiple choice questions, which means you already have the answer with you in the form of options. So we should use this to our advantage and try to come up with different ways which will help us to get the answer in the shortest amount of time rather than doing the lengthy traditional approach, right? So for these kind of questions where it involves variable in both question as well as answer choices, you can use a very useful strategy called as substitution method. So what is this substitution method or substitution strategy and how to go about solving the problem using this method? Means wherever you come across variable in your question, replace that variable with a simple number of your choice that would satisfy the conditions given in the question. So in this question, there are two variables, J and K. Let's try and replace those variables J and K with a simple number of our choice which satisfies the condition given in the question. Again, I want you guys only to help me here. They're telling J and K are even integers. J should be less than K. So give me any set of values for J and K which would satisfy this condition. So try and keep the numbers simple. Don't take crazy numbers. Any simple values of your choice for J and K. You can drop it in the chat box. So 2 and 6, okay, works. We can take 2 and 6. No wrong in that. But we should ensure that J is less than K. So J would become 2, K would become 6. Got it? So we have replaced our variables with a simple number of our choice. Now what was our question asking? Which of the following equals number of even integers greater than 2 less than 6? Now tell me students, how many even numbers do we have which is greater than 2 less than 6? How many even numbers do we have greater than 2 less than 6? Very good, Nitprit. There's only one even number which is greater than 2, less than 6, which means the answer to this question, according to the substitution that we have done, is 1. And that is called as our target answer. So this is the answer that we should be looking for in our answer choices, in our options. So once you get your target answer, that is answer to the question according to your substitution, the very next step is use the same value of your variable in the options to check which option matches with your target answer. Let's go to the first option and replace k as 6, j as 2. So if I replace, how much that would become? 6 minus 2 is 4. 4 minus 2 is 2. 2 by 2. That would give me 1. So does option A match with my target answer 1? Yes, it exactly matches with the target answer that we were looking for, which means option A could be the correct answer. Again, you can't confidently mark it as the answer. I would not recommend you to mark it as the answer, because j equals to 2, k equal to 6 was a number which we assumed on our own. It was not given in the question, right? So that's why, to be 100% sure, option A could be the correct answer. Hold on to A. Let's check option B now. So what is option B now? K minus j minus 1. 6 minus 2 is 4. 4 minus 1 would become 3. 3 by 2. So does that match with our target answer 1? No. So which means option B cannot be our answer. Eliminate option B. What about my next option? K minus j by 2. 6 minus 2 is 4. 4 by 2 would become 2. Again, it doesn't match with our target answer 1. Eliminate this. And next option D, k minus j. 6 minus 2 is 4, which also doesn't match with our target answer. So eliminate this. And the next option would become 3, which also does not match with our target answer. So what is the only option that is matching with our target answer? Option A, and hence option A itself is the correct answer. Got it? So if you observe, I did not even write one single equation to solve this problem. That's how quickly I was able to do this problem with the help of this substitution strategy. So there are few problems like this which can be done using this strategy. So if you come across such problem, apply this strategy and get to the answer in the shortest amount of time without writing all the algebra steps and things. Got it? Because at the end of the day, what matters is, did you arrive at the correct answer? How you arrived at it, no one's gonna care. They're not gonna look into steps or working and stuff. Got it? So any doubt, any confusion in this? Clear, everyone? In case if someone is wondering, what if I choose a different value for j and k, will this method will still be applicable? Anybody has that doubt? I'm sure at least one of you would have got that question in your mind, right? What if I choose different value for j and k, will I still get the correct answer and stuff, right? So just to answer your doubt, in case if you have it in the back of your mind, let's take a different value for j and k. So any other different set of value for j and k? Both should be even, j should be less than k. You guys can only share the number. Give any simple number of your choice for j and k. Okay, 2 and 4. Okay, let's check 2 and 4. If I take 2 and 4, now let's answer the question. What is my question asking? Which of following equals number of even integers greater than 2, less than 4? So greater than 2, less than 4, how many even numbers do we have? There is no even number greater than 2, less than 4, which means the number of even numbers is 0. So according to this substitution, my target answer changed now and it became 0. Now if I check the options, let's say I'll check the first option now, k minus j minus 2 by 2, 4 minus 2 is 2, 2 minus 2 would become 0. 0 by 2 would give me again 0 only. As you can see, once again option A is matching with your target answer. So irrespective of what number you choose, this method will always work. Just that you have to choose the number according to the condition in the question. If you violate the condition in the question, then you will not get the right answer. Got it? Yes, wonderful. Let's go on to the next question. Question number 3. So again, your 1 minute timer start. Give it a shot. Mm-hmm. You can share your answers in the chat box. Yeah, I can see answers coming in. Mm-hmm. As expected, there is a toggle between B and D. Nice, nice. Mm-hmm. Okay, Akash changed your answer once again. Ha. Nice, nice. Good, you figured it out. Nice. Others, come on. Good, Mansi. Let's check whether it's right or not. Okay, wonderful. I can see most of you choosing option B, some of you choosing option D. Let's understand what is the correct answer. But before we solve this problem, so let's understand what is the type of question. The previous questions were pretty simple ones, multiple choice questions, which you have already come across in other tests also. You know how to deal with them. So this is a very new type of questions and it is exclusive for the GRE Quant section. These type of questions are called as quantitative comparison question. In short, we call them as QC questions. So what is the goal or a purpose of a quantitative comparison question? Means the question will give you two quantities, as you can see, quantity A and quantity B. The goal is to compare both the quantities and check which of those will be greater. And there will always be four fixed options. So these four options, what you are seeing here, these are always fixed. So they are never going to change the meaning of the options or the wording of the options, or the order of the options also will not be changed. This is fixed. The first option always represents what? Quantity A is greater, and the second option always represents quantity B is greater. The third option always represents the two quantities are equal, and the fourth option always represents the relationship cannot be determined from the given information. So that's about the type of question. One very important aspect of this question that we need to understand is, what is my first option telling? Quantity A is greater, correct? Even though it says quantity A is greater, the actual meaning or the hidden meaning of this particular option is quantity A is always greater. If and only if quantity A is greater in all the scenarios for all the values of your variable, then only you have to choose option A. Exact same thing with option B and option C. If quantity B is greater in all the scenarios, then only you have to choose option B. If both the quantities are equal in all the scenarios, then only you have to choose option C. Now, when can I choose option D? Means in two scenarios. One, as the option itself says, you do not have enough information to compare the quantities. That's when you can choose option D. The relationship cannot be determined with the given information. And two, when there is ambiguity. So what do I mean when I say ambiguity? Means, let's say for certain values of your variable, quantity A was greater, but if I choose a different value of my variable, quantity B would become greater. In such scenarios, I can't choose option A also, I can't choose option B also, because A represents quantity A is always greater, but here sometimes A is greater, sometimes B is greater. So when you have such ambiguous conditions, that's when you have to choose option D, because there is no fixed relationship and hence relationship cannot be determined over the with the given information. Got it? So that's about the type of question and the meaning of the options. Once you understand the type of question, now let's try to solve this problem. So what are they expecting us to compare here? 12% of x with 1 by 8 of x. So quantity A is a percentage value, quantity B is a fraction. I cannot compare percentage with a fraction. I can compare percentage with a percentage or fraction with a fraction, correct? So let's try to convert our quantity B, a fraction, into percentage. Any fraction, if I want to convert into percentage, all I have to do is just multiply by 100, because percentage is nothing but on a scale of 100, what is the value, correct? So if I multiply this with 100, 100 by 8, that would actually become how much? 12.5% of x. Now we are kind of comparing 12% of x with 12.5% of x. What most of the students will do, they'll just look into this number 12% and 12.5%. They will think yes, 12.5% is greater, and they end up choosing option B as the answer. But unfortunately, option B is what answer? That is your trap answer, wrong answer. Of course, 12.5% would have been greater, but it also depends on what is the nature of my x value, correct? So in the GRE quant section, if there is a variable and if they have not defined anything about that variable, by default, that variable has to be considered as a real number. Sorry, just a second. Ha. So if there is a variable in the GRE quant section, and if they have not defined what is the nature of that variable, by default, that variable has to be considered as a real number. And real number means between minus infinity to plus infinity, it can take any value. It can be a positive number, it can be a negative number, it can be zero, it can be decimal, it can be fraction, it can take any value. If if x was a positive number, then definitely quantity B would have been greater. 12% of a positive number, 12.5% of a positive number, 12.5% would have been greater. But what if x is 0? 12% of 0 is also 0. 12.5% of 0 is also 0. In that case, they both become equal. So as you can see here, there is ambiguity. For certain values, B is greater. For certain values, both are equal. And if x was negative, A would have become greater. So hence, what is the correct answer here? It is option D. So the relationship cannot be determined, or there is no fixed relationship between both the quantities. Got it? And these are the most tricky ones in the GRE quant section. The reason is, in the previous multiple choice questions, in case if you did some mistake, if your answer is not in the options, then you know you have done some mistake, you can redo the problem. But in a quantitative comparison question, since your options are these wordings, A greater, B greater, both are equal, relationship cannot be determined, even if you do a mistake, you will never realize you have done the mistake. You would choose an option and move on to the next question. So that's why these are the most trickier ones, and these are the questions which most of the students would end up doing mistake in. So you have to be very cautious in a quantitative comparison question. Got it? So understood the nature of the question and the answer to this question. So I think those who choose option B, so this is a learning for you guys. So whenever a variable is given, by default that variable should be taken as real number unless they have specified the nature of that variable. For example, in our previous question also we had variables J and K, but they had specified J and K were even integers only. So that's why we took only even numbers for them. Got it? Wonderful. Let's go to the last problem. This is a data interpretation or a chart based question, which is also part of the GRE quant section. You can expect somewhere around minimum three or maximum 6 questions from data interpretation. And it can have any type of data. It can be a pie chart, it can be bar graph, it can be histogram, it can be a line graph, or a plain tabular column. It can be anything. Again, your 1 minute timer start. Give it a shot. And chart questions are often considered the time consuming questions because you have to understand the data, and numbers in the chart questions also not that simple. Usually it will be some decimal weird numbers which would require a bit of calculations. And if you're wondering, are we allowed to use calculator? You are allowed to use calculator, but you cannot carry a physical calculator of your own. There will be an inbuilt on-screen calculator in the ETS website itself. So you will be allowed to use that calculator. But again, that's a very basic functionality calculator. It has only 5 operations: addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and square root of a number. Okay, I can see a few answers coming in. Nice, nice. Okay, nice. 3 answers so far. Good. Keep it going, keep it going. Nice. I can see the options kind of toggling here between B, and then there was one C, and there was one D option also. So let's see what is the correct answer. There are wide range of options that are being chosen in this question. So now how do we approach a chart question? Means first is always you need to understand your data. So once you have a proper understanding of the given data, then when you read the question, it becomes easy to solve the problem because you already know what information you have with you, correct? So first let's understand our data. What is this data talking about? The pie charts. Sources of solid waste by weight in the United States. So in the year 1988, totally there were 160 million tons of solid waste, and they have given the percentage distribution of different types of waste out of this 160 million ton. Like yard waste contributed for 17.9% out of that 160 million ton. Paper and paperboard contributed for 41% of that 160 million ton. So that is what the pie chart is talking about. The first pie chart is talking about. Similarly, in the second pie chart, for a projected year 2000, for a total weight of T million tons, this could be the percentage distribution. They're kind of giving you a projection for year 2000. So we have understood the data. Now let's go to the question. So what is our question talking here? In 1988, for how many of the 8 categories shown was the weight of the solid waste less than 8 million ton? So in 1988, which means in the first pie chart, out of the 8 given categories, how many categories had a weight which was less than 8 million ton? They are asking. So in order to answer this question, I need to calculate what is the weight of each of these categories. And how do we get the weight of each of these categories? Let's say if I want to find the weight of yard waste. Yard waste is equals to 17.9% of 160 million tons. So you would calculate that. Then if I want to find out metal is equals to 8.7% of 160 million ton. So like that, you would calculate the weight of metal. Like that, you have to calculate all the 8 values. Then you have to compare it with 8 million ton to check whether it is less than that or greater than that, right? But in order to do this calculation, it would take a lot of time, because if you observe the percentages here, 8.7, 8.2, 7.9, it's not simple numbers. It's a little weird calculation. You might need the help of calculator. Even if you use calculator, it will take more time, because you have to calculate 8 such values and then compare with 8 million ton. So instead of doing such lengthy approach, what is the smartest thing I could have done is, how about rereading our question or rewriting our question? So instead of telling it as weight of solid waste less than 8 million ton, how about we convert this 8 million ton into percentage with respect to the total weight of 160 million ton? So 8 million ton is what percentage of our total weight 160 million ton? So this, if I solve this, million would get cancelled. 8 ones are 1010 would cancel. 2s are 10 by 2, 5%. Which means, in other words, this question is asking us to calculate in 1988 for how many of the 8 categories shown was the weight of the solid waste less than 5%. Now this is a much more simpler problem, because you have all the percentage distribution. You just have to check how many were less than 5%. You don't have to do any calculation. So how many categories had a weight less than 5%? Tell me, students. How many categories had weight less than 5% from the first pie chart? There is only one category which had a weight less than 5%, which was miscellaneous. Correct? So hence, what is the answer to this question? Option B, 1. Got it? So just because a question is framed in a certain manner, there is no compulsion that you have to answer it in that way only. If you feel like reframing the question like this can help you to solve it faster, you can always do it and get the answer in the shortest amount of time. Got it? So instead of doing that lengthy calculation of 5 weights and then comparing it with 8 million ton, I reframed my question only in terms of percentage, which helped me save a lot of time over here. So these are some of the strategies that you can try and adapt in the GRE Quant section to get to the answer in the fastest amount of time. Clear? Yeah. So that's about the quant section. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the verbal section. Again, I'm not going to go in a lot more detail with respect to the verbal section. We're not going to cover any RC questions and stuff. Few basics about the vocabulary I'll be covering here. So one major aspect of the GRE verbal section is building your vocabulary. And vocabulary is something which cannot happen overnight. So like today, don't know any words. Tomorrow you will learn 1,000 words. It's not going to work that way. So it has to be done consistently on a daily basis. Every day, 20 words, 30 words. If you keep on learning, over a duration of 2 to 2.5 months, you would be learning 1,000 to 1,500 words. So that should be the target, and not just learning these words, trying to remember them. Because when you come across a question, if you want to answer that question, means you need to know the meaning of that word. So apart from learning, you also have to keep on revising them regularly so that it stays in your memory. So that's why vocabulary building is the most important part of the GRE verbal section. And there are many strategies that you can use in order to build your vocabulary. Something like mnemonic is something which you can use, or understanding the root word and adding prefix and suffix, how it will change, or group words, very similar meaning words, you can group it together and learn them as one single set. So those are many strategies that you can try and apply for the GRE verbal section. One such strategy is mnemonic. Mnemonic is basically trying to come up with different ways where you can try and remember the word easily. Maybe try and associate with a person or an incident or a place that you have visited, which will give you the similar meaning. So try to connect it to real life scenarios so that it stays in your memory for a longer duration. So let's look into a couple of examples on that. The first sentence here. So what is this particular sentence is telling? Fashions are ephemeral. New ones regularly drive out the old. So now read the sentence one more time on your own. Based on the context of this sentence, the GRE word in this sentence is ephemeral. So what do you guys think could be the meaning of ephemeral? Based on the context of this particular sentence, what do you guys think could be the meaning of ephemeral? Fashions are ephemeral. New ones regularly drive out the old. What do you guys think could be the meaning of the word ephemeral? New ones regularly drive out the old. So as the new one comes, old ones are immediately thrown off or discarded. So which means it's very short-lived, correct? So it doesn't have a longer lifespan. So something which is very short-lived. So that is the meaning of the word ephemeral, something that lasts for a very short time. So once you understand the meaning of the word and you learn how to use it in a context of a sentence, so the next thing what you can do is try and associate with something which will help you to remember it for a longer duration. So when you hear the word, think of something that lasts for a very short amount of time, something like a water bubble. So water bubble is something which is there now, the very next second it will be gone, correct? So that's why you can try and associate the word ephemeral with a water bubble, so that next time when you hear the word ephemeral, this water bubble comes in your mind and you know that okay, it means something which lives for a very short amount of time, so something that lasts for a very short time. Got it? So like that, you have to try and come up with ways which would help you to remember the words. So one more example, if I have to look, the loquacious tour guide regaled the visitors with captivating tales of the ancient city. So again, the GRE word in this particular sentence is loquacious. And if you observe the context of the sentence, a tour guide regaled the visitors with captivating tales. So he kind of attracted the tourists with his tales by telling the stories, which means he's speaking, right? So the meaning of the word loquacious is someone who's very talkative. So once you understand the meaning of the word, the next thing you can do is try and associate with a person. Let's say you might have a friend who's very talkative. So let's say Swarup. Swarup is loquacious. So that way you can try and remember their name easily, and this word can be associated with them, and it will become easy for you to recall the meaning whenever you hear the word next time, right? So another example is cacophony. So what is the meaning of the word cacophony? Cacophony means harsh or jarring noise. If you observe the meaning of this particular sentence or the context of this sentence, the seals added to the cacophony as they barked and honked in alarm to their pups and one another. Again, these words barked, honked. So these are not pleasant noises, correct? They are very unpleasant or jarring noises, and that's the meaning of the word cacophony. And again, cacophony has a root word, phony. Phony means something which is related to sound. Just a second. Phone is the root word, something which is related to sound. So like that, you can try and learn the root words also and see how it will add on to the meaning by adding a suffix and prefix to that. And then mnemonic that you can try and associate this with is sales, the same example you can try and use, or maybe a construction place or even a traffic signal. So these are the places which have very unpleasant noise, right? So that is your cacophony. So that way you can try and remember the word. Yup. So I'm open for Q&A. If you guys have any questions, any doubts, you can feel free to ask. Anything with respect to GRE preparation or the GRE test, resources, whatever the questions you have, you can ask your questions. I'll be here for another 2-3 minutes. Yes. You can unmute yourself and ask, or you can drop them in the chat box also, whatever is comfortable for you. Evolving regularly. Yes, Akash. Ephemeral, you can say the meaning is something similar to that also. Not necessarily that it has to be evolving regularly, something which lasts for a very short amount of time. I think both of them are kind of different. Huh.
Sir, I wanted your advice. Like as I told you that I'm preparing from Yocket platform through like recorded package, and I have almost like 80% of the recorded classes I've done for both verbal and quant.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm right now I'm lacking it is in practice because I've just did the like recorded lessons and practiced according to the questions given in the recorded questions only.
Mm-hmm.
So can you just like let me know that once I plan to complete my recorded sessions in like a couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm planning to give my GRE on 13th of November. So I will have 10 days for practice. So I just wanted to know that with respect to Rocket platform, like in that I explored that in under every like under every topic there are three categories of questions given like hard,
Yes.
medium, and yeah. So I have very less time right now and I cannot complete every of the questions and every of the things. So narrow version, if you can recommend that I can start only with the hard questions in the Yocket platform topic wise, or only give the test kind of a thing. So that advice will be valuable.
Got it, got it. So the one thing is, while you started your preparation only, you should have done it parallelly. Like first going through all the recording, then doing the preparation is not actually an ideal preparation strategy. It should be like once you learn a particular topic, let's say go through the video of something like ratios and percentage. Immediately after that, the next day itself or on the same day itself, you should have done a bit of practice of that topic so that you're learning the concept and learning the application also parallelly. But since you have already gone through all the recording now and now you will be practicing, so whatever the recording you would have watched almost let's say a week ago, so might not be able to recall it that better. So that's why you kind of have to do no other option because you already booked your test for November 13th, right? So another 15 days time is what you have. So maybe what you can do is try and focus on finishing off all the easy medium questions. instead of directly jumping into hard questions. Because what would happen is, if you directly jump into the hard questions, if your foundations is not strong, then you will not be able to solve those questions also. So there will not be any point in that. So that's why instead of that, finish all the easy medium questions first by using the timer with a timed manner only. So once you're done with all the easy medium questions, then only I would suggest you to pick the harder problems. So just because we have less time, if you directly jump to the harder questions without doing easy medium, so what would happen is that would kind of create a gap. Your foundation would not be strong. You'll directly go to the hard problems, so you'll not be able to understand them better. So you end up spending more time to solve the problems over there. So that shouldn't happen. So that's why I would suggest finish all the easy medium first. That can be done in 15 days, not a big issue. Again, you need to spend more time, but you have to do it, no other option. So finish all the easy medium ones and try and take more and more mock tests.
Got it, sir. Got it. Thank you so
Yes.
much.
Yes, no worries. Any other questions, students?
By the way, sir, it was nice to attend you in live. Actually, I every day saw your recorded lectures, but now like attending a live session was.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Akash. My pleasure. Thank you. You're too kind. I'm glad the recorded classes are helpful. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Very much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, we're still open for Q&A, students. Any more questions? Kushi, Neeraj, Mansi. You can drop them in the chat box also in case if you're not comfortable unmuting and speaking. No questions, no doubts? Okay, wonderful. Chalo then, I think we will wind up here. Thank you so much. I hope the session was useful and informative and you are able to learn a thing or two from this particular session. So whatever the stage of your GRE preparation journey are you in, if you're beginning now or if you've already started, if you've booked your test and have test in another 15 days, whatever it is. So all the best for all of you. So do practice on a regular basis. So GRE is all about regular practice. So consistency is the most important part. So every day if you have to practice, so only then you'll be able to achieve great scores on the GRE test. Clear? So any questions, any doubts you can ask or else you can log out for the day. Thank you so much. Have a good night. See you guys in the next session. Thank you.